What's up guys, it's Humphrey. Welcome back to my channel, and today I just really want to make a video here addressing how to get started on YouTube if you want to be a YouTuber. Now, specifically, I know that a lot of you guys watching might not be interested in becoming a YouTuber, but there is a large growing segment of you guys who want to do this because one, it's flexible, two, you can do it from home, and three, it could be really lucrative if you do it in the right way. So that is this video. I'm gonna share all the tips and tricks and all the knowledge that I've kind of gathered throughout the last year or so, just growing my subscriber base from 0 to 100K. And I'm gonna share with you a lot about how YouTube works, my thoughts on YouTube, and basically how to grow. This video will be divided into a few parts. First, I'm gonna tell you what I really think about YouTube. Number two, I'm gonna go over my journey, including some of the milestones that I've hit and when I hit them. Then I'm gonna give you my top tips for aspiring YouTubers, as well as leave you with some mental tips that could really help you when you're starting your YouTube journey. So first, let's get into what I really think, which is that YouTube is an incredibly tough business. I think there's a misconception out there that you just carry on a vlog camera, you vlog your life, then you throw it up on YouTube. Or in my case, you sit at a desk, you talk about a personal finance topic, and all of a sudden the views rain down on you from the YouTube algorithm. But it is actually a lot tougher. The filming portion of YouTube only takes about 1/10 of my time. The rest of the time is dedicated to researching a topic, scripting a topic, endlessly thinking about titles and thumbnails, editing, and also dealing with the back end of YouTube, which is dealing with a lot of emails. The actual filming part, that's the easiest part, and sometimes this part is still really tough. So because of how easy it seems, the YouTube kind of business reminded me of this graph of the Dunning-Kruger effect, which I'll bring up on the screen right now. But basically, the effect is a cognitive bias where people who aren't good at something are unable to recognize their own skills. Oftentimes, people overestimate that they're good at something until they actually get into it and realize, wow, there's a ton more to this than I thought. I was very much the same when it came to YouTube. I would argue that most people's perception of YouTube are at the I know everything about this stage until you start making videos and then you realize, oh crap, this is a lot more complicated than I thought because there's so much to learn and sift through. There's also endless data that you could look at while making videos. I think YouTube takes almost an obsessive personality. I've never been able to be successful at anything that I wasn't obsessive about. And the fact is that YouTube is very much the same way. And that's just a byproduct of starting a YouTube channel. I think that the more that you get into YouTube, the more that you think about it, and all of a sudden it just kind of consumes your mind on a day-to-day basis. I know personally I've just been at dinner and I'll just be spacing out all the time because I'm thinking about what video do I make next. But if you are able to push through that and actually come up with good, valuable content, the algorithm will reward you with views. And hopefully those views turn into valuable pieces of content that your audience can kind of take with them and take action on them. And then because of that, the job is actually quite fulfilling in that regard. If I'm able to produce a piece of content that all of a sudden spurs an action in someone, let's say they start saving for retirement or they start a Roth IRA, at the end of the day, that is very fulfilling for me, and I really appreciate hearing those comments. So I find YouTube to be a double-edged sword in some cases because it can be painstakingly grueling at times, but other times it can be really rewarding and really, really fun. So now I want to take some time to talk about my journey on YouTube really quickly. Now, I've always really loved watching YouTube, especially back in 2010, 2011. I would just watch it for funny little clips, but in 2014, 2015, I discovered a tech YouTuber by the name of MKBHD. No surprise here, he's the biggest tech YouTuber on YouTube these days, but I really resonated with his channel at the time. I would say that he really inspired me to start a YouTube channel, but at the time in 2014 and 2015, I was working a pretty grueling job, but I never got around to making a YouTube channel, and I would say that's my one biggest regret on YouTube, which is not starting earlier. I finally posted 3 videos in the summer of 2019 on personal finance, and maybe I got 5 or 10 views on each of those videos, mostly by sharing it to friends, and I got pretty discouraged at the time because nobody was watching them. So basically, I gave up on YouTube. I mean, nobody was watching my videos. The content I was making wasn't really that great to watch anyway, so because of that, I just wasn't getting any traction, and I felt really bad about it, so I just kind of gave it up for a while. Now, even though I gave up on YouTube for the time being, in August of 2019, I started to watch a lot more TikTok, and I realized that on TikTok, there was nobody really doing personal finance content. So I decided in the fall of 2019 to go all in on personal finance content, especially at the end of the year, and I made it my goal in 2020 to make a video a day for 30 days. And for those of you that don't know the rest of the story, January, I basically posted one video a day for 30 days. Then I got to 60 days, 90 days, 100 days, 150 days. You see where I'm going with this, but my total streak ended at 260 days of straight posting on TikTok. A large amount of my initial subscriber base came from TikTok, and I definitely credit TikTok as helping me build my YouTube audience. On January 1st of 2020, I had a total of 9 subscribers, but by the time it was February 23rd of 2020, I had 1,000 subscribers and I had posted an extra YouTube video on my YouTube channel. That means that I had a total of 4 videos uploaded on my YouTube channel with 1,000 subscribers, which I'm incredibly thankful for, but it could not have happened without TikTok. Throughout the first half of 2020, I sporadically uploaded here on YouTube, but it was in April of 2020 that I was actually interviewed by Graham Stephan on his second channel, The Graham Stephan Show. He advised me that to get more consistent views on YouTube, you have to just post a lot more often. So after that interview, I basically started posting 2 to 3 times per week on YouTube every single week. I reached 10,000 subscribers on April 26, 2020, and it took me a long time to get from 10K to 50K. I actually hit 50K on December 16th of 2020. Now from 50K to 100K was a lot shorter. It was about 4 months, and I hit that on March 10th, 2020, not too long ago. So that's kind of my journey here on YouTube. I post still about 1 to 3 videos a week. I'm trying to work on a more dedicated upload schedule, so I will keep you guys updated on that. But for now, I wanted to share my top tips with aspiring YouTubers because I think it's really important to go over. The first tip I have for you guys is that you guys need to start as soon as possible. Start before you're even ready to post videos. A lot of people get hung up on having the perfect equipment, the perfect audio setup, the perfect studio setup, the perfect topic to talk about, but all of that stuff takes time. In terms of equipment, you can just start with a smartphone and a tripod, and if you don't have a tripod, you can use some sort of setup like I do, which is I just lean my phone against a cup and a foam roller. If you go back to my first video on this channel, it's really embarrassing, but I was just holding a phone like this, talking to it for about 5 minutes, and I basically wanted to get over the psychological barrier of never ever posting on YouTube. The second tip I have for you guys is to really focus on volume, and I'm not talking about the audio volume, I'm talking about volume of videos that you actually put out. In the beginning, it's really important to focus on volume because I think that focusing on volume indirectly increases your competence in making YouTube videos. Every time you make a video, you get used to the process, you learn something new, and slowly over time, your videos get better and better. I was watching a YouTube video from Captain Sinbad about a week ago on consistency, and in that video, he actually referenced a famous study done by the University of Florida by the photography professor there. This professor grouped his students into 2 categories, Group A and Group B. Now, Group A was purely judged on how many photos they actually took during the semester, so their goal was to take 100 photos. If they took 100 photos, they would get 100% in the class. If they took 90 photos, they would get 90%. Now, Group B, on the other hand, was going to be graded just on 1 image. So by the end of the semester, Group B, all they had to do was submit 1 perfect photo, and they would be graded purely just on that. Not surprisingly, all the best photos actually came from Group A because Group A was mostly focused on honing their skills and getting better with each photo over time. If you're worried about creating perfect videos from the start, you're always going to have a lot of problems. So instead, I like to set up different systems and processes to basically just churn out X number of content per week or per month or whatever you choose. Over time, you're going to get a lot better no matter what. So it's just better to create a lot of videos in the beginning. Now, my third biggest tip here is about search volume, especially for beginners on YouTube. Let's say you're making videos for a while on YouTube and you're starting out and you're not getting a lot of views and they're not getting any traction at all. Well, I would recommend really targeting keywords that are actually going to get search volume here on YouTube so that at least you're going to get, at minimum, some views on your videos. I have a Google extension called TubeBuddy, and whenever I search for a keyword, for example, I searched how to save money in the YouTube search bar, I can see that on a monthly basis, it gets about 951,000 searches per month. I know that if I make a video on how to save money and I can rank it in the first 10 or 12 videos on that page, that even if I get only 1% of that search volume every month, that's still around 9,500 views per month. Of these views, they might turn into loyal subscribers, so search volume is something that you really want to make sure you're doing, especially as a beginner, and there are a ton of YouTube tutorials here on YouTube on how to best optimize your videos for search. Now, my fourth tip coming to you right now is something that I like to call the Holy Trinity, and I'm not really talking about Trinity from the Matrix. I'm talking about the 3 metrics that you really need to care about on YouTube, which are click-through rate, average view duration, and average view percentage. You want to focus on making videos that people want to watch. And so basically, what does YouTube care about? That people click through on your video and that they stay for a long time. The more time someone spends on YouTube, the better it is for YouTube and the creator. Basically, the more ads can be served, and that's why the algorithm really prioritizes content that makes people stay for a long period of time. That's why when starting out, you really want to pay attention to your click-through rate, which is basically how many times does someone actually click through on your video when they see the thumbnail and the title on their home page. Then after they click through, how much of the video are they actually completing? Are they completing 30% of the video, 50% of the video, 70% of the video? And how long are they actually staying for example, 5 minutes on average or 7 minutes on average? After you make a few videos here on YouTube, you can start to establish a baseline for these metrics. And basically from video to video to video, you can experiment with different styles, for example, different types of storytelling or different thumbnails to improve on those metrics. For me personally, I really like to see a 10% click-through rate on the thumbnail in the hours after I post a video. And for average view duration, I'm shooting between 5 and 7 minutes, and average view percentage, I want to get above 50%. I've found if I hit all those three metrics, then the algorithm will start to suggest my videos a little bit more. So I'm trying to always optimize for those percentages, and I'm always looking at the data to kind of get feedback on why some of those percentages aren't being met. Now I have some other quick tips for you that I just want to go over really quickly. Number one, try to optimize your thumbnail for mobile devices, because a lot of people watching YouTube aren't actually on their computer. You want to make the thumbnail as easy to read as possible for a small device. Number two, try to be very critical when you're editing. So cut anything out where it doesn't contribute to the direct story of the video. And if you get bored watching your own video, that's a sign you probably need to do a little bit tighter of an edit. Number three, really pay attention to your hook. The more people that you can get hooked into your video, the more that are going to actually finish the video. So I really like to pay attention to the first 30 seconds of every video, and YouTube has a great statistic called audience retention percentage when it comes to this. I've noticed that if I can get 75% or more of the people to stay around the 30-second mark, that more of the people are actually going to finish the video, and therefore my average view duration and average view percentage are going to go up. So knowing that I'm trying to hit 75% or higher on the 30-second mark, I try to experiment with different hooks and different styles in the beginning just to figure that out. All right, so those were some top tips I had for aspiring YouTubers. Now let's talk about the mental tips and the mental side of YouTube that nobody really talks about. So I have 3 mental tips that I'd like to share with you guys, because YouTube can be really challenging when you're making videos, especially in the beginning. The first mental tip I have for you guys is to not get discouraged by results. Now, if you remember my story from earlier, I got really discouraged when nobody was watching my videos after I posted 3 videos. It's really easy to get discouraged in the beginning because the view counts are so muted. So basically, what's really interesting about YouTube is that it scales really well. So the same piece of content that you might be making early on might get 5 or 10 views, but let's say you had 100,000 subscribers or 500,000 subscribers, all of a sudden that same piece of content might be getting thousands of views. It's just hard to know if that piece of content that you made at the beginning of your YouTube journey is still worthy of thousands of views. But in my case, I think that some of my earlier content is just as good as the content I produce today. Just maybe the quality might be better these days, or the way I tell the story is a little bit better. But I still think some of those earlier videos could get tens and thousands of views if I posted it today. So my tip here is to focus more on the process and the actual system of creating videos. If you remember the photography example that I talked about earlier, the more volume that you do, the better that you're going to get. So if you can create a system for yourself where you're just making 1 or 2 videos every single week, or maybe it's just 1 or 2 videos every single month, you're going to be a lot more consistent and get better over time. And hopefully the results will match up to that over time. The second mental tip I have for you guys is to think with a really long-term perspective when it comes to YouTube. A lot of people say that you need to at least consistently post on YouTube for a couple years to actually give it a shot. I find that whenever I get caught up in the day-to-day happenings of YouTube, or I get overwhelmed, if I think with a longer term perspective, I usually settle down a little bit and I'm able to kind of get rid of that anxiety and produce good content. If I'm worried about how a certain video will perform, such as the one I'm filming right now, or the recent performance of a video, if I think about it in a long-term perspective, like, hey, Humphrey, you're gonna be making 100 videos this year, so the results of this one might not make or break you. By having this long-term vision, I feel more secure when I'm producing content, and it also makes me want to get better over time. Also, having a long-term perspective really helps you build a community over time as well, because your community is going to realize that, hey, you're in it for the long haul. You're not here just to make a quick buck. The last tip I have for you guys, which is a little cliche, is to not worry about what other people are going to think about you. A big factor for people that are afraid to do YouTube is that they're worried about what their friends or their acquaintances are going to think about them when they're creating content to put out on the internet. Early on, your content's not gonna be great and people might judge you for that, but who cares if they judge you for that? Because if ultimately your video is gonna be viewed by, let's say, 1 million people, who cares if just a couple people are judging you about it? The other thing is that at least you're trying to do something and make things happen. The other people that are judging you are just kind of sitting there on the sidelines, so it's always much harder to take action and make things happen for yourself. Anyways, guys, that was my pep talk for today. I hope that you learned something out of this video, and that if you are trying to grow as an aspiring YouTuber, that this video was very helpful for you. If you did, make sure to drop a like and a comment on this video. I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments as well. I'm happy to answer them and be an open book resource for you guys. Lastly, thanks to all my Patreon supporters. I appreciate the community very much, and I'm trying to be a little bit more active in the Discord chat as well. So if you'd like to be in the Discord chat, the link for that is in the description below as well. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.